It's the truth about parenting.
Something needs to be real for us.
The truth is in the raw things that people don't talk about. This journey is not for the weak. Welcome to the Mama Jack podcast. Hi, Kayla. How are you?
Hi, I am well. How are you today?
I'm doing very good. It's been a morning.
Hey, we all
We're
have
here.
those days, right?
Yes, yes. So tell us about your story and where you are today.
Okay, what a story this is. Well, first of all, my name is Kayla, and I like to refer to myself as a sometimes solo mom. And just some background on my family. I have a husband, we've been married for 10 years, and we have two little girls who are 6 and 3. And two dogs in the mix. So if you hear them barking, hey, more fun, right? We are a very unique family because my husband travels for work. So his job is 100% travel, but it is very unpredictable. It is very irregular, and sometimes it can change at the drop of a hat. And he could be scheduled to be home for a week, and then all of a sudden, guess what? Within, next week, he's got to fly out. So it's not quite as bad as I know some families are. We usually have his schedule usually solidifies up about 2 weeks beforehand at the very latest. He travels 100%. It's very unpredictable, but that leaves me to kind of run the show. So I'm being full-time mom and dad. Of course, he's a financial provider for us, but I'm really kind of the one who's running the show in the day-to-day, the mental load, the physical labor around the house from sun up to sundown. No one's walking in the door at 5 or 6 p.m. to save me. So it's a tough job, but we're making it through. It's been an up and down, and it's been a lot of learning over the years, and I've worked through a lot of personal, resentment of his job and all of that. But like I said, it's a process. So
We have very similar stories because my husband also has a job where he can be gone for months and here for months and, you know, up and down. So we're very similar whenever we're in parenting and pretty much being like alone a lot of the time and having to catch up husband or having to explain to kids or having to take all that load on yourself. My husband, sometimes he works and he'll leave before we're awake and come home after we're asleep. So it's very much so like the Jackie show as far as parenting is concerned. And then he gets filled in when he can get filled in.
yeah. Yeah, and it's the same here. And it's interesting because it in my world, it's the Kayla show, right? And I know that my husband has struggled over the years to be like, well, I want to do it my way. He wants to parent the children his way. And on top of that, he and I are 13 years apart. So generationally speaking, we don't see eye to eye on certain things. And parenting is one of those things. And it has been kind of a struggle over the years, of give and take and push and pull but at the end of the day, we're all just doing our best, and it's trial and error, right? None of us really know what the heck we're doing out here.
Nope. They just hand you the baby and you're like, oh my God, I got to keep this thing alive now.
I know. I tell people all the time, like, congratulations, you've kept a tiny human alive, for 1 year or 7 years or whatever it is. Like, yeah, you're doing it. You kept a tiny human alive. Good job. Pat on the back.
Yeah. I remember those moments. I was like, I have kids. Like 6 years ago, you trusted me with kids. What the hell?
Yeah.
But you
it's
can
all
only change when you become a parent. Or hopefully you change when you become a parent. But yes, the whole like solo mom thing, I love that whole thing because I was I relate most to military wives, but it's still different, right? And I almost felt guilty, like being like, oh my gosh, like I'm kind of like you because they don't see their spouses for months and months at a time. And whereas, like, I'll see my husband, but and he's either here or not here, which is very similar to yours. And it's it's different though. Like there needs to be another community for us, which is what you're kind of doing, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I struggled for years and years trying to find where I fit, right? So I think we do relate a lot to military families, but also from the outside looking in, I feel like there's a lot of support out there for military families. The camaraderie, they have events that they go to so they get to know one another, or their spouses are in the same, I don't know, corps or platoon or whatever they call it. So they kind of get to know people that they're stationed with. And there's that support there. Whereas those of us who are out here where our partners are gone for an extended period of time, we're just out here doing it on our own, trying to figure out where we fit. And then also the other piece of that, I think, is there is that dynamic and that makes it difficult is you get into this routine where my husband's gone for 2 weeks. His average is about 2 weeks. And then he'll come home for a night or two and then go again. And we get into this really good routine with the kids and we're doing our thing. And then he comes home for 2 days and it like blows up our life, right? We stay up later because daddy's home and I want them to have time with him. Or I picked my daughter up early from school last week, an hour early, so she could see him before he got on the airplane for another week. And so it's kind of that up and down roller coaster, right? And so for me over the years, I have felt really related to the single moms, right? Who are the sole providers of their family, because I'm doing that a lot. But the difference is I'm obviously not comfortable calling myself a single mom because I am married and I love my husband. And also I have a financial provider. I don't worry about money, right? My husband provides for us every day. But I also relate to them a lot because 90% of the time it is just me. I am doing the parenting and the cooking of the dinner every night and all of that. So it is kind of that weird. So anyway, I'm out here just like, okay, well, if I can't find it, I'll make it, right? So I'm out here building my own community on Facebook and, eventually, hopefully, I don't know where else, but I want to find all of us and be like, we get it. Come, let's talk. Let's be friends. Someone you can text when you're having a crap day and everything's going downhill. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And we're going to obviously post that Facebook group here, right?
Yes. Yes. I will post the link for it. Yeah. And if you're searching for it, it's sometimes Solo Mama. Super easy to find.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it is hard to not hold resentment, right? And it's like, then you feel guilty for holding resentment because you're like, God, they're just working. Like, I always say, like, I knew what I was getting myself into, right? Because I was in the film industry too. And the reason why I got out, part of the reason I got out was the hours and being a mom and having a mom and a dad in the film industry. It's like crazy. Like, because it's long, you just can forget. You're never seeing your kids.
Yeah, that's kind of how I always say I fell into being a stay-at-home mom. Like that was never my dream. I had a mom who worked full time. Both my parents worked, but when we had our first, I was working in the hospitality industry and I was commuting over an hour to work, and we lived out of state from family and friends. We lived in North Carolina at the time. And so it almost was like I was forced into being a stay-at-home mom, which there's nothing, I love it. I'm so thankful that I get to be home with my girls. But also it was a big identity crisis of like, oh, here I am all the time. We were just living the dream, and like I was getting to travel with my husband and go to, the Bahamas or Maui when he had work there. And now I'm home with my kids all the time. So yeah, the resentment piece is like when my kids were babies and you're doing night shift and you're up feeding every 3 hours and you know in the back of your head that your spouse is in a fancy hotel getting a full
Mhm.
night's sleep and has all of his meals provided for him, it's like,
Yep.
ooh, yeah, it's a slippery slope of
I
resentment real fast.
I understand that. And I say my husband every time he leaves for work, I'm like, have a good vacation. And he's like, it's not vacation, it's work. I'm like, you get to sleep and you get to come home and just like do nothing. Do nothing. So
Oh, 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 yes. I try to remember that he's not actually on vacation because he is pulling 12. I mean, my husband works in the convention industry. So it's 12, 14, 15-hour days. So it's not, but it is fun to joke. And when he comes home, I'm like, if he's home for more than probably 4 to 5 days, I'm always like, tell me when my day off is. And I leave the house. Sometimes I just go to Target and walk around or go to Barnes and Noble and just be alone, right? But I'm curious for you how you handle like I always have this inner battle when he's home of like, do I spend time with him? Like, do we go out on a date or do we spend time as a family or do I go and do something on my own? Like finding that happy medium of how to spend your time, right? Because you're
yeah.
alone a lot, but also you don't have alone time. Like, does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So I do a balance. Like I sometimes so we have longer periods of time where he's home. So, throughout the day, it's kind of the balance. So if it's a Monday or a Friday that he's here, the kids go to school. So we have like 3 hours to ourselves. So we'll try to spend time with ourselves. But we also like he has side businesses he does, and I have my podcasting. So it's like we try to find that healthy balance, right? We see each other. I've been getting like more like snuggly with him. So like we'll watch the kids together, but I'll be sitting on the couch with him and we'll be talking as the kids are playing, or something like that. That's how we spend time together. Honestly, we haven't been on a date since his birthday, which was last August. It's been a
Yeah.
long time. So, and before that, I mean, it had been years because it was
Yeah.
just craziness. But, um, yeah, it's a hard juggle, right? And it feels guilty like when you're sitting alone. I've come to terms with having a lot of respect for my alone time because of my mental breakdown. So I was like, this is like basically prescribed to me. Like I need this.
Yeah.
Okay. And I try to get that before my kids wake up. So when he's not even awake either when he's home, I try to do that as well. So during the day, like I don't need it as much. But if he's like super busy and I'm super busy and he's working on, like, we go back and forth. Like he'll be working on his other jobs when he's home and I'll like have the kids and be doing all the kids stuff. Then at a certain time, I clock out and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go shower and lay in bed and read or whatever the heck I want to do, or take like a half-hour long shower or a bath. But when it comes to me and him, it's been hard. I will lie.
Yeah.
Like, and our marriage at one point was not great at all.
Okay.
There was a break here that Kayla had to go and get her daughter a snack. And that is just what happens with us solo mamas sometimes. And now we're back.
We're moms here. It's literally called the Mama Jack podcast. There are kids in the background. I've had episodes where people hear my kid in the background crying and they're like checking the monitor to see if it's their kid. Like, they're like, oh my God, there's a kid crying in the background. Yeah.
I guess. I mean, right? I'm alone. I'm solo parenting.
Yeah.
So she's here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
Not napping. Okay, so yeah, the whole date thing, I've kind of made it a priority in the last couple of years to go out of my way to find a regular babysitter. And then I just, like, my husband, bless his heart, but he is not the guy to put in the effort. I'm like, nope, I got a babysitter. We are going out. Figure out where you're going to take me. I'm like, we're doing this because we just got to a point where we weren't going out together. And our kids, I mean, you have little kids too. So, but our kids are like, if we're sitting on the couch together trying to have a conversation, they are like in our face, jumping on us, trying to wrestle. Like their favorite thing to do is play pillow fights with him. So when he's home, they're like bashing him in the face with pillows. I'm like, we can't even carry on a conversation together when our children are in the same room. So it makes it hard, but I know we're in a season 2 of young kids, and we try to remind ourselves that it won't be like this forever. And we're, like eventually we'll probably miss the days when our kids are like, no, I'm going to go to my room for 6 hours. Like, no, come back and stay with us.
Right. I try to remind my husband that all the time because our kids will do the same thing. It's like 50% time we get alone, and then they'll get like, that crazy look in their eyes, and you're like, oh no, here they come. And then they're all of a sudden on us too. So, because I have a 2 and a 4-year-old, so they're at that age that they'll totally just attack you.
Yeah.
But it is, like I said, I want to go back to the solo mom thing because I feel like it is so important, and I feel so seen by you because, like you said, it is hard. Like it's hard to find a group that understands. It's hard. And there's almost like not jealousy, but a little bit of jealousy whenever you have like a friend that their husband comes home every night and they're like, oh, well, I'm having trouble doing this. I'm not saying parenting isn't hard and it can't be hard for everybody. But when you're doing it by yourself, a lot of times it's like, oh my God, like I wish I had somebody home every night,
Yeah. Yeah. And when people ask like, what's the hardest part or whatever, how do you do it? Yeah. And I always go back to, because you can hire someone to come in and clean your house. You can order a meal delivery service, right? If financially you're able to do things. But I think the hardest part are like those small moments. Like for me, the hardest hour of my day is like the 4 to 6 p.m. because the kids are going bonkers. They're asking for snacks while I'm making dinner, right? 5 o'clock. I see Ollie's here. While I'm making dinner, they're in my face asking for snacks. So it's like they go from 4 o'clock, like running around the house crazy. Seriously, if you could hear my house at the 4 o'clock hour, my children are running around like wild banshees, screaming at the top of their lungs. And I have 2 Australian Shepherds, and they are herding dogs. So when the kids are running, the dogs are chasing them and barking. And we live in a 1,000-square-foot house. Like there's not a lot of room in this house. I am so ready for summer so that I can just send them outside so that I can make dinner in peace. It's so funny because I just got to a point where I'm like, I can't deal with this anymore. And I found this company who makes these little earplugs. It's called Loop. And they make these little, yes. And they make these earplugs where you can't see them. And they just like knock the decibels down a little bit. So you just pop them in. I'm like, you know what? The dogs can bark, the kids can yell, and I can still hear them, but it's not quite as crazy. So it's like just having my husband home on those when he's home, and that 4 to 6 hour when I'm trying to make dinner of like, just take them, like go outside, go to the playground. Thankfully, we live not far from a playground, or go in the bedroom and like play with them. Just get them out of my face so that I can just have peace while I cook, whatever. Just like those little everyday moments of having someone home, right? Because you can if you're fortunate enough to live near your family, near your parents, or have a best friend that lives close by who can take your kids for a night or an afternoon, or like so you can go grocery shopping or whatever. Those are nice. but it's the smaller moments within the day that it's hard. Those are the hard parts. And there's some days where I'm like, I think it just takes a lot of grace to understand that you're human, right? I'm human and I'm doing the best I can. And there are some days where I am killing it, right? I get up in the morning and I do all the things. Like, I've worked a lot over the years to put routines in place where I read for 10 minutes while I drink my coffee, and like my daughter gets herself ready for school without me having to ask her to brush her teeth 7 times. And like the whole day is just going like that. And I crash in bed at night and I'm like, yeah, like I fucking did it, right? Like I killed it today. And then there's other days where my daughter wakes up. And by the way, my children, they are morning people. I am a night owl, which is not a good mix. So there are like most nights I'm up till at least 11. And my children, from the time they were born, they are up at 6 a.m. If it is 7 o'clock and they are not awake yet, I am like checking for heartbeats, right? Because they are up by 6:30 every day. So my house like gets up and goes in the morning and I'm dragging myself out of bed. And it's like, then sometimes it's just a fight from the time we wake up in the morning. Like, no, you can't have screen time. It's a school morning. We have to get going. Right. So it's just like an ebb and flow of like picking, like there's some days where I just pick 3 things to focus on. Like if I can get these 3 things done today, and sometimes it's just 3 phone calls. Like I need to call and make doctor's appointments or dentist appointments. Like I've been putting that off. I'm going to make that my focus today. And sometimes if all I can get done in a day is those 3 things, then I'm patting myself on the back. I'm considering it a win for the day because you can't get it all done all the time by yourself every day. So
Hallelujah.
yeah.
Hallelujah. Yes. Yes. And that's super important. And I'm a morning person, but my kids tend to be night owls at 2 and 4. It's insane how late they stay up. And I'm just like, go.
Yeah. So you said you do your quiet time in the morning. So I do mine at night. Like when they go to bed, usually by 8 o'clock, everybody's sleeping. Although my 3-year-old is in like the weird, like trying to drop her nap, but doesn't want to. But then if she takes a nap, then she's up with me till like 10. And I'm like, can you just go to sleep? Because mama needs some time. Like, I just need to like journal or whatever I need to do. Sometimes it's just zoning out to watch TV, or sometimes I'm really in it and, working on, I'm actually getting ready to launch my own podcast. So it's like all those little things, like I need alone time. I can't do that with kids in my face. Time to think, right? When it's quiet and all of a sudden you have time to think and you're like, oh, what is this?
Yes. It almost scares you for a second. Like, what did I forget to do? What should I do right now? And you're like, okay, well, now what do I pick to do? Like picking for yourself with a kid is automatic, but whenever you have to choose things to do for yourself, it's like, okay, well, do I want to work? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that?
Yeah.
And I was in such a great routine for a while of getting up at like 5 a.m. I would meditate. I would journal. I would work on my podcast. I would do everything right before the kids got up. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. Well, I do know what happened. My kid started staying up later. And so I wasn't able to get to bed when I needed to get to bed. And the 5 a.m. will work for 2 or 3 days. I'm like 6 hours sleep. And then that last day, you're just like, no, I can't do it. And then everything gets thrown off.
Yeah, that happens to me. With like staying up late, I'll have like 3 or 4 nights where I stay up till 11 or 12 or sometimes 1. And I'll do that for a couple days. And then I'm crashing with my kids while I read them books at 7:30 at night. And my husband will try and call me. He's like, you fell asleep last night, didn't you? Yep, sure did. Fell asleep at 8 o'clock. Woke up halfway through the night in my daughter's little twin bed, like snuggled in.
Right. Oh my God. I've done that so many times with my son. But again, they go to bed so late. I don't know. They're like their dad in so many ways. My husband is a night owl. So even at home, it's like the more month and that got the nighttime stuff. I'm like, okay, you go do nighttime stuff. You can do bath. You can do all of that stuff. Like, I'm chilling. I'm gonna
Yeah,
take a
and
shower.
it's such a treat when they're home. Like I hate doing dishes. Like dishes are like the bane of my existence. And so we kind of have it worked out where if I cook dinner and he's home, he does the dishes. And my husband pretty recently started, like, because he travels so much and he doesn't really have to cook, right? So he just doesn't. But in the last probably 6 months, he's really been trying to step it up a little in the kitchen and like take a night to cook for us. And so then I do dishes. But when he's home, I'm like, yes. It's like a little treat. Like, yay, I don't have to do like the worst thing that I hate doing, right? Like that must be nice for people who have their person home all the time to be like, I hate doing laundry. So you be the laundry person. Which, when you're solo parenting, that's not a luxury that you have. You just have to do it all, or it just gets let go. And then eventually you have to do it anyway. And then you're mad at yourself because you waited so long. So, whatever.
Yeah, my kids just tried to come in now. I just heard the door open and close.
No, not right now. Eat your crackers. Yeah, eat your crackers.
Okay, so when does your podcast come out?
Say for all of the listeners out there, April 1st. I will launch my podcast on April 1st, 2024. I already have 4 episodes recorded. They're ready to launch. I'm just getting some of the things behind the scenes worked out. So look for the Sometimes Solo Mama podcast on April 1st, that week, the week of. Not sure exact date, what days I want to launch them on, but keep your eyes out for it.
Yeah, you can mess around with that afterwards. Feel your feel. See when you feel like it can. You know, it's like a whole mix of things with all of that. I know it. And boy, do I know that putting off launch dates, putting off episodes, because of, my husband's work, I will often find myself like the day before being like, oh my gosh, I need to completely go back and make sure this editing, like I'll basically edit it and then add in certain things at the end. So I know what that feels like and that rush. So 100%. Hold on a second. You can leave her here. It's fine. Is she on a tablet?
She's keeping him here. It's like
Give her a tablet just for now.
I did already. She ran away from that.
Oh, great. Okay. So
so my tablets, they sure do come in handy, don't they?
They do. Yes. And they don't, because then they get addicted to the tablets. And when you have like you're taking a body part off of them, it's like, horrid. But so is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I think we kind of touched on a lot of it. I guess I just want to mention for anybody who is living this lifestyle and is like feeling super overwhelmed with it, or maybe is new to it, because I've come across a lot of people who are coming into my Facebook group who are brand new to the lifestyle because their husband took a new job and are all of a sudden feeling super overwhelmed and don't know where to start. And so I will put it out there that I am a life coach, and that's what I help my clients with, is building the routines, putting them into place so that you don't feel overwhelmed, and then also helping you work through the resentment that you might have towards your partner, helping you process the emotions of your children and yourself, and just kind of walking you through all of that. So that's what I help my clients with. And if you have any other questions, you can find me at my website, KaylaLyonsCoaching.com.
Nice. I love it. And I can't wait to join your group. I can't yet. Oh, we're coming. Okay, well, thank you so much for being on here. And all of your information will be in the show notes. So look for Kayla there. Join her group if you're a solo mama as well. I know I'm literally going to join it right after we end this, and everything is uploaded. So you got another member from me. And
Awesome. Well,
I'll be putting it out there for everybody.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was awesome to talk to you and to get to connect with someone who's living the same or similar life. And I look forward to connecting with anyone who joins the group.
Welcome to the end of another episode of the Mama Jack Real Raw Parenting Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Remember, parenting is a journey filled with ups and downs, and it's okay to make mistakes along the way. The Mama Jack Podcast is here to provide you with support, guidance, and real-life stories from fellow parents who are navigating the challenges of raising children. If you have any questions, topics you'd like me to cover, or stories you'd like to share, please reach out to me. I love hearing from my listeners and incorporating your experiences into future episodes. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Podpage, all under the Mama Jack, TheMamaJac. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, you're not alone in this journey, and together we can create a supportive community of real, raw parents. Stay tuned for more episodes filled with laughter, tears, and everything in between. Until next time, keep being the amazing parent that you are.